Kurt is an Indiana blacksmith. He's been blacksmithing since he was a very young child, 10 years old. Father and grandfather, both auto workers. Yeah. Kurt has a shop in Atlanta, Indiana, where he teaches classes all Thursday evenings. So if anyone is inspired by this talk, I encourage you to head on out that way and have some classes with Kurt. So without further ado,
You guys what? Everybody thinks this is something special. This is all I ever knew. You know, I've gone across the country with Clifton, and we've taught classes all across the country at different workshops, and been to Canada. After Clifton passed, I've been still traveling around and seeing different places and demonstrating. And you know, people go on vacation and say, "Oh, we got to see this." That's everywhere I go. It looks like a blacksmith shop. You know. Got an airplane in Arizona. Went to Mason University, taught there. The community college, taught there. Did a workshop for Arizona group in a different blacksmith shop. What's Arizona look like? They look like a blacksmith shop. So anyway, I got my start at an early age. My grandfather owned Indianapolis Drop Forge. So when I was 4 and 5 years old, Dad would take me to work on Saturdays, put me in the blacksmith shop while he did his metallurgical work throughout the plant. And at noon, we go home and do stuff as a family. But I remember the big hammers and the flash and the smoke and all that. Just for a young kid, that was just amazing, you know, seeing all the hot metal. When I was 10, my mom took a spinning and weaving class at Conner Prairie, out of the Conner Prairie Museum. They were needing guides, so they took all these ladies from the spinning and weaving group and made them all guides for the museum. It was still a young museum at the time. And Mom wasn't gonna leave me at home, so dressed me up as a little colonial suit and took me out there. And they started a blacksmith program in front of the Conner House. Jim Rubley was a blacksmith at the time. He had a small rivet forge that he let me turn the crank on. I was hooked. I loved it. And that year for Christmas, I got a little rivet forge, a 35-pound anvil, and that's where it all started. I never looked back. Now I got a full-time business, and I worked on all kinds of different projects. Question I have for everybody here: who was the first blacksmith? You don't know? A caveman. He found a green rock that melted in a fire and made a bronze knife out. Started the Bronze Age. So that was the first when blacksmithing started. Been around for a long time. If we didn't have blacksmithing, where would we be? We wouldn't have metal. We'd be just like the Indians over here. Yeah, work with stone tools, all that. Technology wouldn't have started. So here we are. And now blacksmithing is getting awfully scarce, even though the processes are still used in factories and manufacturing today. I don't know what to do with this, but I'll keep on rambling. We'll have fun. But, you know, it's really an important art. Blacksmithing is still needed in the steel mills. It's still needed for houses, and people want nice furniture made out of it. They want ornamental iron. They need special hinges. They need fireplace tools. They need this. It's still alive. They say it's a lost art. It really isn't. Forged in fire brought back blacksmithing more than anything has. Everybody saw it on TV. They saw the guy sweating. They saw the guy beating on a piece of hot metal. Before forged in fire, being a blacksmith, really people didn't have respect for it as much as they do now, because they have never really got to see it. So, you know, now we have a better appreciation for who we are, you know, being a blacksmith. Another thing that saved blacksmithing was back in the 1970s, the arts movement, the crafts. The government put money out there to save and document as much of this stuff as they could. And that's what a lot of money went in museums and brought the program back. The American Blacksmith Association started at the time. Indiana Blacksmithing Association started that time. It really got people fired up. I was a member of it back then. You know, I was a young man, and I got to meet Clifton Ralph, Wayne's dad, who was probably one of the best industrial blacksmiths in the country. He inspired me more than anybody. Jim Rubley, he was a knife maker. He made colonial type knives and parts, tools for Williamsburg and utensils. Very, very detailed blacksmith. So I learned from some of the best people. It's opened a lot of doors for me. When I was 17, I was also in Boy Scouts. When I was 17, I took a trip out to New Mexico to film my scout ranch. Anybody's heard that? It's a high adventure base for Boy Scouts, and it's 250 square miles of ranch land or mountain land. And throughout that whole ranch, they have camps set up throughout the thing. One camp may be an Indian camp. One camp might be a mining camp. They'll have a sawmill camp. They'll have a logging camp. There's a place under Indian rights which still has the hieroglyphics from the Indians where they wrote on stone and all that. The main reason the camps were there was for first aid for scouts hiking through. But we were also a living history camp. So when I got off the trail there, I went to a mining camp. They said, anybody know how to blacksmith? So he let me hammer and all that. And when I got off the trail, they were waiting for me and hired me off the trail. So I had to call Mom at 17 and say, I'm not coming home till this summer's over. So I worked there several summers and worked with Boy Scouts and lived the life of a blacksmith then in a mining camp. So making tools and making different things that the ranch needed. So it was a quiet experience. So this has really opened doors for me throughout life. In the meantime, I also sharpened jackhammer bits for different construction companies and tour wells. And I didn't have a power hammer at the time. I was still doing it by hand. I was doing about 500 a week. And I said at Indiana Blacksmithing Hammer, met Clifton Ralph, Blaine's dad, and we got to talking and became friends. I go up to his shop and convinced me there's no other way than a power hammer. Now I'm a power hammer guru. I don't even want to touch the handle, you know? So step on a pedal, let a machine do the work for you. But I sure learned a lot from him.
Tell them about the contest you guys had. The contest you had with Dad and you.
Oh yeah, when I first met this IBA thing, I had all these jackhammer bits with me that I needed to get done for Monday morning. I had to deliver Monday morning. And there's Clifton up on this trailer. He was demonstrating power hammer work on his trailer. We're on a forge over here showing knife making and stuff. But that night I was working on these tools. And Clifton, he starts to yell at me over at me. And I was kind of scared. That rough old man up on the trailer yelling. And so he said, I can do this faster than you can. Okay, I'm pretty good at this. So here we go. It was a pretty good close draw. He beat me by a few, but it was a pretty close draw. You know, it was a lot of fun. That goes back a ways. Maybe about 1978, I think. Somewhere right there. But, you know, weekends, I get in my car and where are you going? I'm going to drive up to Gary to go spend the weekend in Clifton to learn blacksmith work. And Mom got used to that. But how many people want to go to Gary, Indiana for a vacation? The last time I was up there and I saw Joanne and Connie was there that weekend. Did you bring a gun with you this time? It's getting pretty rough through there. They're still in a nice little area. It's sort of isolated that the crime hasn't gotten in there to them too much. So I still need to get back up there soon to see them. But that's sort of some by history. A few years after that, Clifton came across this steam hammer when they retired the blacksmiths out of the mill. He gave this steam hammer to a steam club up there and they did nothing with it. And it sat in his hauling lot for 10 years. And hey, Kurt, you want that hammer? Yeah. So I saved some money up. He collected the money. He called me up, said, come and get this hammer. So I got a hammer down at Westfield where my shop was there. And I said, man, I need to get some experience. So I had a 100-pound hammer at the time. I bought a 600-pound steam hammer. It's taller than this ceiling here. And I said, I need some experience on this thing. So I got a job at Fountain Town Forge, which is actually the open die, flat die shop of my grandpa's business. When the drop forge in Indiana was shut down, the employees bought the flat die division, which is the Smith type hammers with 2 parallel flat dies. And the other part of the business with drop forge was cabbie dies that bang made apart. This is all Smith type work, where you put tools underneath it and shaping the piece between 2 parallel dies. And so I got a job at Fountain Town Forge. I walked in there and they said, well, we're going to put you right flat. You know how to blacksmith. So I went from a 100-pound hammer to a 3,800-pound hammer, 2.5 stories tall. That die came in, bang, right in front of me. My eyes got that big. I'm hanging on a 200-pound jug going, why am I here? It scared me to death. I can't run. I'm in the Civil War. I come from a family of railway blacksmiths and metal people. I got to do this. So I stuck it out down there for about 3.5 years and then set my steam hammer up and started doing work there. Some of the work we do in the shop, like I said, we do some ornamental iron work. We make parts for steel mills, tooling for steel mills. We make other tools for 3-4 drop forges, make all their tongs, grab bars, forks for reaching gravel billets out of big furnaces and all that. They make a lot of parts for Caterpillar and the government and different tanks and everything else, ships, and so I touch a little bit of that stuff with my work. I also get hired by companies to come and help get a job rolling. I had to go down to Franklin. They're working on, they do copper and bronze forging there. We made the rocket nozzles for a Mars mission down there. So, like I said, starting in Mom and Dad's backyard and growing up here, it's amazing what you learn and how many people will say, hey, I need you to take this opportunity over here to do this and do this and do this and do this and do this. I got several jobs in the shop right now. Got 4 chandeliers I'm building, 2 railings, 2 sets of railings. We just got that fixing 2 trailers. We do it all. We don't turn anything away. Someone brings something from their house broken, where I'll fix it for them. I'm not afraid of being diversified. And it's kept me alive that way for years. Somebody needs a panel made for their car, I'll take a piece of sheet metal and make a panel for their car. It's a metal shape. And I just sit there and do it. If anybody has any questions as we go, feel free to ask. I'm not a public speaker, I'm a blacksmith. I'd rather be up here with a hockey steel in my hands, feet on the airport, than being here in front talking to everybody.
I actually did have one question about the steam hammer. What all went into getting that set up at your shop? Because I assume that had to be more than just moving it. I assume it has external stuff that powers it. And so
The foundation is 12 feet in the ground. In the foundation, there's 4.5 feet of wood. Okay. So that when the hammer hits, it gives a little give and it won't break itself in half. There's a little elasticity to it. Moving it, well, it scratches the ceiling at my shop. I had to take the thing completely apart, turn the forks over to be able to lift the top piece in. And like I said, there's not that much room between that and the ceiling. And like I said, when I dropped up the pit that goes into where one is down there, and almost pulled the forklift down into it. It weighed about 30 ton. So it's a big machine. Yeah. You know, when I'm gone, somebody else gonna worry about pulling that out. You know.
So how big is your shop? Is there 100,000 square feet?
Well, I mean, the shop area is 28 by
60? Yeah, it's 30 by 60.
30 by 60, I think.
And then,
And then there's 2 bays in front of that. And then there's the office in front of that.
so you have a furnace also?
Yeah, I got 2 gas furnaces. I got a slot forge, which is a big open slot about this long. And then there's a big box furnace. So we're running production. We could fill it full of metal and then forge all day. So up we go.
If you're, and I'm bouncing around here, that if you're going to teach someone blacksmithing, like we come out there and sign up for a class, what's the first thing you learn? I mean, is there
The Thursday nights we teach class at my shop. It's $30 a person. That pays for your coal, your steel, and somebody to help you start. And we do projects every week. This has been going on for about 10 years. We start you in the basics. Everyone's, I want to make a knife. No, you're not going to make a knife until you learn how to forge. What the only knife is a wedge. You're forging a taper. Okay, first thing we do, we'll show you how to forge a control taper on it into a bar. And then we'll show you how to do a round taper on the end of the bar. We'll show you how to twist. We'll show you how to upset a piece into itself. We'll show you how to split a piece, how to punch a piece. There's only about 5 or 6 different things you could do to a piece of metal. You know, bend it, split it, punch it, upset it, which means work it into itself, draw it out. And it's how you apply those techniques to a piece, you can make anything. You know. We're still get excited. I mean, after doing this so long, I still get excited about doing different projects. Over the holidays, how many axes do we make, Paul? 18. 18 axes over the holidays. Okay, we had to make a double bit. Then we had to make a Tasmanian style bit. We had to do this kind of axe head. We had to try them all, you know? So we got a pile of axes up there now. We bought every axe handle out, every hardware store with a 60-mile radius. So anybody breaks your axe, they're kind of messed up right now. Well, like I said, on Thursday nights, we have a good group of guys, and just a short amount of time, they become darn near masters. We have Paul. He started 4 years ago, and he had been there about 3 weeks. And I got to ride down to Texas to do a workshop down there and needed somebody to help me. I called Paul. I said, "You're my helper. You better luck." I threw him under the bus, you know. So here we are. Been best of friends since, and he's learning a lot of stuff. He carried on after I'm gone. You know, pass this on. So, we got 2 real young men in our class. Noah Stormer, he was 8. And then Corbin, he came in when he was about 14, I think. And both those guys are getting really good too.
See, I point out Noah made the ring that's in the Blacksmith Farrier exhibit over here. You'll have to see the hoop.
Yeah, hoops.
When he's 14 years old, he was, I think, 16 at the time, wasn't he?
No, it's not. That was Corbin.
Corbin.
Noah was 8 when he started. Oh, he's 12 now.
Okay, or no, just turned 13. Yeah.
Still a kid.
Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to picture, because the forgings that I use too are automated. And, you know, you have the billet, machine comes down, pounds the crap out of it.
Oh, which closed die, yeah.
Yeah. So your shop, when you
It's
say,
open die. It's between 2 parallel, 2 flat dies. Okay. And then to shape apart, you know, the hammer only goes this way.
right.
We had to put different tools in there to force the metal to go this way, to spread it out, to punch a hole. If you get on YouTube and look up open die 40, you could see them rolling rings. They take a block upside down, knock the corners off, set a punch up there, sling a hole in it, and then put it on mandrel, and they can roll that out any size. Any size.
What's the biggest wreath that you can do?
The biggest part of it for us is 2,000 pounds. At my shop, probably the biggest is about 150 pounds. Okay.
Yeah. Did you bring pictures?
I got my folder and a bunch of pictures. In fact, we were talking about here that about a month ago is that Paul ordered some photo paper in for the computer, so we start printing some of this out. Because there's river pictures on the phone, there's blacksmith pictures on there, there's all kinds of railings on there. I mean, all jumbled together. So it's neat, which would be nice to have all that stuff to lay out here tonight. We'll get that done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, do a
But there's a couple of blacksmiths that live local right here. The Whitesville's over there. And their dad lives up by us. Oh, Michigan. But they do some pretty good blacksmith work too.
So how many blacksmith? I can ask a question.
Yeah. You're helping.
It's the set over there.
You're helping me by asking questions. Giving me something to talk about.
Yeah, I'm curious. How many blacksmiths are there in Indiana? I mean, it seems like there's.
We've got probably, in the Indiana Blacksmith Association, we've probably got about 120, 150 members.
Currently, we have 185 active members and there are 400 registered members.
Okay. So, I mean, but as far as actual blacksmith shops, there are very few. Yeah.
Yeah, do these?
You got John Bennett over here. He's an artist blacksmith. And most of these other guys are just hobby blacksmiths. Yeah, they might do a show or a festival or something like that. They're not really working for companies where they give you a drawings. They make this part within an eighth of an inch, you know.
Kurt, you might also say about 13, there's 13 area groups around the state. So they have their own shop, hammer-ins.
So if you join the Indiana Blacksmith Association, somewhere there's a local chapter of the Indiana Blacksmith Association within probably a half hour of your house anyway, that you can go hammer at every month. We put a big, up at Tipton, we put a big conference on up there, and we hired demonstrators from across the country to come in and demonstrate and show what we do. And so other blacksmiths can learn what they know. And then people bring tools in for sale, and, you know, it's just a good festival.
What is that?
That's a show. We're
Mercury's in June every year.
yeah. And then the one over Ohio is a big one too. Yeah. And I'll be getting the straight in there next year. All right. Yeah. It will work.
What is SOFA? Southern Ohio Farriers Association?
Forge examples, that's yeah.
And the actual conference is called Quad State.
Let's get back to Columbia.
Oh, by the way, in regards to the steam hammer, we have it running off of a diesel air compressor outside.
Oh yeah. Originally ran steam, we converted over to air. And the way we converted to air, we took all the cast iron rings out, we put Teflon rings, and all the graphite packing, we put Teflon packing that are tightened it up. And it runs good.
How old is that hammer?
By 1890.
So any replacement parts you have to make yourself, right?
You gotta make everything. I mean, all the hammers are that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't make them anymore. So you just had to baby what you got, don't break it. If something breaks, then you have to make a new one. And that's one thing about blacksmith. You can't go to Walmart and buy blacksmith tools. Snap-on doesn't carry blacksmith tools. So you gotta make all your own tongs, you gotta make your hammers, your punches, your cutters, basically everything. anvils. There are a few companies around that still make anvils. You can find the old ones, which was what I use, and recondition those and use those, and they'll last you a lifetime. But really, all you need to get into blacksmithing is a heat source, where it's a coal forge or gas forge, or a fire with a blower on it. That wood fire with a blower on to heat a piece of metal up. Hammer, pair of pliers, and start beating on a piece of metal. You're hooked. I mean, maybe you look inside that hot metal and look at that soul and know I can make something out of that. You get that satisfaction of making one thing, and I got to do better than that. Next time we do a little better. Then you're the biggest dope fiend that oh, you can't make enough stuff. And they gave all the kids in school a piece of hot metal, a piece of wood, a craft to work on. We eliminate the drug problem in this country right now. They would have time to think about doing stupid stuff like that. You know, we need to bring the arts back in the schools. They need to quit concentrating on football and basketball and start teaching life and get these kids back on track again. Get them away from their cell phones. You know, there's a lot of these stuff on cell phone, but you know what? Once you're on that crap, it's even better.
Kurt, what would you say most of the full-time blacksmiths that have shops focus most on? I mean, do they have certain products they're making or certain things they're doing, or
I would say
generalists?
I would say most of the work today for most blacksmith shops is probably ornamental iron. As far as the industrial blacksmiths, it's getting pretty scarce. I mean, there's probably just a handful of left in the country, you know, that are still actually doing the industrial work. It's still needed in these companies, you know, making parts, tools, make a piece of machinery, parts for machines that they have that go down. Like I said, that's a lost art. And I was pretty fortunate to meet, like I said, I keep going back to Clifton, but I was pretty fortunate to meet Clifton Ralph, Lane's dad, because he worked in a steel mill. He was originally out of Kentucky. People came from Kentucky to get money to work on the steel mills. The steel mills also brought all those Europeans over to work in the mill, which brought the old world blacksmithing from the shops from the early days, generations and generations and generations, all crammed in these shops and the mills. With all that knowledge, they could make anything. Clifton said they didn't even have a drill press. They had to calculate and punch every hole under those steam hammers to make a forge or make a part 100% machine. Look, you know, when they're done, it went right onto a machine and bolted on them with the work. They were pretty darn good. I wish I was half as good as what they were. I'm still learning. I've been doing this for 55 years and still learning. I still get excited over this and challenge myself. To start a project, you got to plan. You got to calculate material out. Because if you don't calculate your material, you're going to waste more time guessing whether you have enough or not. If it's short, you just messed up that piece of steel. If you have too much metal, then you got to cut something off, and that takes time, and you're losing money there. So it's all in planning. When a job comes into my shop, the first thing I do is sit down and calculate the job out. If it was a railing, I got to figure my material. How much time does it take me to cut every one of those pieces? How much time does it take me to put all this together, to weld it, to budge it, to collar it, assemble it? To drill a hole, how much time is it? How much time did it take me to go to a hardware store to buy this? I got to figure everything in there. Otherwise, I lose money, and I'll go broke. So I must be doing it pretty good for being around this long, 55 years. So,
One of the things my dad, I remember we were making something one time, and he had this formula about volume and, you know, whatever you had to do when you make a project. But like you say, he might spend an hour and a half doing the math.
That's right. Or less.
Yeah.
or less. We may spend 3 hours making a tool do a 15-minute job, but we'll have that tool for next time. If you go in my shop, the walls are covered in tools. There's drawers full of tools and punches and drifts and tong tools and art tools and all that.
Kurt, haven't you also had the pleasure of teaching or demonstrating at some of these schools that we have a lot of blacksmithing schools now? Oh yeah, that are kind of focused on advancing the skill.
Art with peddling and all that down there. Out east, there's quite a few too. So I mean, they're teaching the arts. But like I said, it doesn't teach this part of it. That's where they're gonna have me a soul for next year over Ohio, and I will especially teach industrial forging over there. Any other questions? Y'all ready to go to work? I will hire you till y'all know everything right, ready to. You like, I go, what is this? That's about what I have to say. If I have any questions.
Rachel, how about you?
Well, but I mean, I've got a bunch of questions. I sort of would like to go around and just hear from all blacksmiths in the room, just what currently is your obsession? Like, what do you like making the most right now, other than asses, of course? I'm not crazy with the apples or recipes.
So you asked,
What is your favorite thing to make?
what is my favorite thing to make? Something new. I like the challenge.
Do you have any plans in the new
Every day.
something there?
It's every day making a tool or making this or figuring out how to do something better. Like I said, over the holiday, we saw a young man make an axe. Before the holiday, we went to Anderson to a school over there, and they hired this young kid from Idaho. And he's 21 years old, but he started when he was 16 making axes. He makes them for all the loggers in the Northwest. I was so fascinated watching a young man work. He got done. It's so smooth. The hammer marks were there, but I just sat and watched him do it all by hand. And it was a beautiful piece of work. It's good for you. I always said, that's slick. You did a great job. I try to do this under a power hammer and make everything smooth and with tooling. You just did it by hand and made a beautiful axe. So I told Paul, we're making axes. We're going to try this. We are going to try this. So like I said, we got carried away. I got pictures of all the axes piled on a table. I'll be done. I'll get done with this speech tonight. I'm going to run for office. I think I'll be being a public speaker. So, free beer for everybody.
What did you make? What steel did you use to make the axle with?
We took a 4-foot die and cut it up, which is all spring. Anything 4-foot fork, anything up under 2x4 is spring steel. Anything over that's 40x40. Okay. All your big forks. Yep.
I saw a YouTube recently where the guy is forging the tip of the axe with a higher quality steel. That
Oh, right. And they're in the old way. Yeah. With an iron body and then welding in. Yeah. Forged welding in a piece of tool steel.
that you had a rougher steel to the base, and one of the things I've noticed over the years, you probably had this if you had a lot of hardwood handles. But the quality of hardwood handles is not as good as they used to be either.
Right.
They're like spammers and axes and that kind of thing, but Indiana used to supply a lot of those materials.
Well, you still got coming out of Seymour.
Yeah.
Seymour raking tool. They were making handles down there. But I did shingle rippers for them years ago for the slate shingles. I had to go under it, but they make the pitchforks and they make all that stuff in there. Pretty fascinating.
My dad was smithing. He used to get his handles from a guy in Bedford that made them by hand. Hickory handles. You could not break those.
We got it from Ray Baker.
That's my dad.
Yeah, and Ray got it from who?
I can't remember the fellow's name in Bedford, Indiana that made them.
Split them all. And I got some of the handles I'm still using. I've been in those hammers for over 35 years. Yeah,
I was hoping you knew my dad. I thought you probably did.
yeah, so I'll be darned. That's a small thing.
Yeah. I was going to mention his specialty was tomahawks. He liked making tomahawks, so now he'd always use horseshoe rasp for that metal in the blade.
Yeah. And Ron Tencher was a buddy.
Yeah. Yeah, they're both bass nose.
I think that's pretty cool. Yeah.
I have one more question about material that you use. So I think there was a question over there right, on what type of steel do you use for that project? Every time I'm in an antique store, I see a pile of tools, and I'm like, is there any value in that metal? Like, can you reuse some of that? Or
I'm sorry, I've been beating hounded steel a lot of years. I mean, I can't hear very well.
so I was asking about material. If you're able to recycle metal from,
Oh yeah, reuse it,
do you use that?
change it into something else.
Okay, all right.
And if it is a small piece, cut off a piece of scrap before you get a new bar. Okay. And reuse it until it's all fatigued and junk, and then you can reuse it to shape it into something else.
So what does all fatigued mean then? The quality of the metal?
Fatigued out.
Yeah.
That means it's worn out. It's cracked. Here's another thing, Clip. You say a piece of steel is just like us. When it's made, it's the best it can be. When we're born, we're the best we can be. Then we start aging and start fatiguing. We get a cracked arm, they patch it. It's not as good as what it used to be. We start fatiguing, and that steel is doing the same thing. After so many years, it'll be worked to flex and all that, and it might get some little stress cracks here, and it's rust is attacking it. It corroded from the outside. Like I said, life is based on blacksmithing, you know. But yeah, it's you can grow a piece when you heat it up and forge it. If there's cracks, you could see it in a glowing metal. Wrought iron was the old pure iron, bog iron. Will only rust so far. That's why you still see these railroad bridges that were built in the 1880s still being used, all riveted together, because it will only rust out so far. It can't fatigue. It's real grainy material, almost like wood.
So that's for forging, though, right? But that, like, say the old metal, you can melt it down.
You can smelt over, yeah. And you can melt it all down and start over. Right? Old cars, what the steel we're using today, it's 836. It's every poured into a pot and melted. It turned into a new bar, which isn't as good as the other, but works. But yeah, you can pick a piece of metal by a scrap yard or whatever, and make something out of it. It's just good. Once you heat it up, you relieve all the stresses in the metal from when you heat it up. Stress relieves it and shape it into something new.
You have any more questions? Okay. Well, I welcome everyone to take your time exploring the blacksmithing exhibit. We have some things from Clyde that Clyde made. He's in the front row there. He has been a farrier for many years. And also some pieces by Lane's father, Clifton. Thank you so much, Kurt. Thank you, Lane, for arranging this. And
It was a lot of fun. Thank you.